Amluk Dara is very special because it continued to be used till a very late period, also because it was on the way to the sacred mountain that was visited also by Chinese Buddhist pilgrims in the second half of the first millennium CE.
You can see the bed of the Swat River, how enormous it is, and you can also imagine all those travelers, because of course we know this is a part of the Silk Road.
A very warm hospitality here in Swat, professionality, trust. The first time I came here, so I really feel this is my second home now.
Okay.
I can't be, far from Pakistan for more than 6 months.
It's really overwhelming. I mean, you can't go anywhere without ancient ruins and stupas that are all taken impressively well care of by the Department of Archaeology and by the Italian mission.
Why these people choose Swat, especially the past civilization that have been developed here in Swat?
I really think that the first asset of Swat was agriculture, timber, minerals.
That Buddhist was a very early establishment of Buddhism in Swat, because we have 2 inscriptions referring to the stupa. There's a Dharmarajika stupa, right? So a stupa established by the Dharma king, which is probably a reference to Ashoka.
This year, so in 2025, we celebrate the 70th anniversary of activity in
70
Swat.
years. Okay.
And also friendship between the 2 countries, Italy and Pakistan.
The potential is, of course, immense for tourism. And we just need to look around at the scenic beauty, the history. There is a lot that can be done to attract larger numbers of tourists. I mean, there's all sorts of infrastructure and, improvements that can be made.
I'm very glad that now the directorate decided to enlarge the excavation, because this must be like a real monastic settlement. So a very complex one, and there are other structures around. And it is a very important site because it's located along the path that lead to the Lam.
Yes.
Up there.
Yeah. Hello everyone, I am Sohail Azhar Khan. Today we have a very special podcast series, and we are here at the Amluk Dara, which is a very heritage site in Buner, Swat district, almost adjacent to Buner. We have a very distinguished guest, very special guest from some foreign countries, and we would like to talk to them about their experience here in Pakistan. They have visited different places, heritage sites, specifically in Swat and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. So we'll be talking to them about their experience and Swat and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. To thank you everyone for giving me a time. I don't know much about you guys all. I just arrived here, so I just know the first name. So it's really good that if you each of you introduce yourself. So that would be great. Starting from you, please.
Okay, sure. So my name is Elisa Iori. I'm the Deputy Director of the Ismeo Foskari Italian Archaeological Mission in Pakistan, and I'm Assistant Professor at the University of Venice, Ca' Foscari, and I'm an archaeologist. So my main interests are urban archaeology and archaeology of religion, with a special focus on Swat Udiyana.
That's really great. So from how much time you are here in Swat?
I've been working here in Swat now for almost 10 years. So my first time was in 2014 when I started my PhD in Italy. So I did my PhD research here on Swat.
Okay, that's really great. We can, talk to you a lot about Swat.
Yeah, sure. It's a pleasure.
So, Stephen.
Yeah. So my name is Stefan Baums, and I'm from the University of Munich in Germany and the Bavarian Academy of Sciences, and I'm the lead researcher of a project on ancient Buddhist manuscripts from Gandhara.
Okay, and
so
that's
I have a team of 5 people there. It is one of these very long-term German research projects. So we have been running for 12 years. We have another 8 years to go, and then maybe longer, we shall see. And so we're working on manuscripts from the 1st, 2nd century from Buddhist monasteries from somewhere in Gandhara. The find spot is not entirely clear, maybe here, maybe Afghanistan. And in addition to this, I work a lot on Buddhist and other inscriptions from Gandhara and Kharosthi script, Brahmi script.
All right.
And I am the epigraphist for the Italian Archaeological Mission, which is what first brought me actually to Pakistan. So I've been coming for 2 years now.
Okay.
So I've actually been the epigraphist for about 10 years. And at some point, they started teasing me about never having been here. So 2 years ago I first visited.
Yeah, that's really great to know.
And this is my 4th visit now. So now I come
Okay.
very regularly to Pakistan.
You have done a lot of work and you're doing a lot. So, what about you?
My name is Desi Vendova. I'm from the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston. I'm a Buddhism public scholar there, funded by the Robert Ho Foundation. I research the life of the Buddha. I'm a Buddhist studies scholar, and I'm excited for my first visit to Pakistan. So we started with Elisa, who has been longest here, then Stefan, and I'm newly arrived in Pakistan, and I'm very excited to see all of those sites and the museums that have, of course, the artifacts from the sites, and to give a context to objects that I've been studying.
Okay, that's very great to know. Starting from you, Stephen.
Yes.
When did you arrive? How was your first visit to Pakistan? And what kind of thoughts do you have earlier in your own country? And when you come here, what did you find here?
So I've been studying Gandhara for a very long time. So I started in Germany and did my MA in the UK, and then my PhD in the US. So I spent 10 years in the US. My PhD is from the University of Washington, which at the time was the center in the world for Kharosthi, studies. And when I joined the University of Washington was in 2002, right? So the previous generation of students, they had regularly visited Pakistan with their teacher, and then it seemed it was maybe a little dangerous, maybe you shouldn't go anymore, and this was implanted, in my head,
Okay.
So I was very reluctant to visit, unfortunately, I have to say now, of course. And so it took a very long time, until I finally came. And as I said, working, with the Italian Archaeological Mission, of course, at some point I had to come. And so in 2023, I just bought a ticket. I came here. Luca and Elisa, right, were both here at the time and welcomed me. So I was staying with them in the Italian mission. And Luca especially told me where to go. Stefan, today you go to Amluk Dara, tomorrow you go to Tokadara. Now you have to see our Sabchina. So he made sure that I got a very good overview,
Right.
I was here for 2 weeks and I got a fantastic overview of all the archaeological sites and, was inducted, to the practical work on the ground here.
Okay, that's great.
And it was a fantastic experience. I mean, it is
Okay.
wonderful being here, wonderful coming back.
Okay. So, how was it, your learning experience? What did you find here that was really, make you wonder that this kind of, the sites we have in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and so on?
Yeah, I mean, finally I was really beginning to understand, where these inscriptions are from and how the sites are related to each other and why they are where they are, maybe on ancient trade routes, linked to each other. And before that, honestly, working on the inscriptions, it was just sort of this jumble of like place names, where they are from. And suddenly it's a solid geography and you really begin to understand the historical relationships of sites and the chronology as well. And then you can come back to the inscriptions themselves and you have a much more profound understanding of them. So I'm a firm believer now in like field epigraphy.
Okay, that's really. What about you, Lisa? How was your experience till now in the last 10 years and so on?
Well, it's a bit different from Stefan because, of course, I was a young student when I first came to Swat, and it was very exciting, of course, for me because I've been studying ancient Buddhist religion and Gandharan studies at the university as a student. And for me, I think I got the same excitement that the international student that are now here for this event have. So as I said, was the first year of my PhD, and I really had like the will to work here, like in a long-term perspective. And it was a different time from nowadays because was 2014, so the Swat was still under military control. Of course, the situation was safe, so because we were allowed, of course, to come here, you needed an NOC at that time. And I can tell you that, I mean, in 10 years, I can see how things have changed. At that time also, Gandhara was mostly a focus for scholars, was an area of research. But now I can see over the years, especially in the last 5 years, also thanks to the Directorate of Archaeology Museum of KP, of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, that now Swat is becoming also a hub for touristic tours, and of course different kind of tourism are developing here, and I'm very glad that to share to share this with like a larger international group, because I think I was very lucky. I was the first student at that time coming from the Italian Archaeological Mission, coming back from the site. I never felt in danger here, I have to say, because there is always this mix of hospitality, very warm hospitality here in Swat, professionality, trust, that I really appreciate. And this has been like this since the first time I came here. So I really feel this is my second home now.
Okay.
I can't be, far from Pakistan for more than 6 months. I need to come back.
So you are here from last 10 years, and most of the time in the last 10 years you spent in Swat, in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa.
Yes, that's the thing, because most of the time I've been visiting Swat. So it's very strange because I never visited Karachi, for instance, or other side like Mohenjo-daro, because when I'm here, I'm always very keen to to study and spend time in Swat. And but now I will start, exploring also, of course, other side of.
It's been like more than 5 decades of the Italian mission that have been working here.
Well, actually, this year, so in 2025, we celebrate the 70th anniversary of activity in
70
Swat.
years. Okay.
And also friendship between the two countries, Italy and Pakistan. So we will also celebrate the event in Pakistan, of course, with the embassy and the Pakistani authorities, and then in Italy, of course.
Definitely.
So I'm very glad to be present, to be part of this.
It's really an achievement having past events in this region of, it was in a crisis, and still the missions goes on till now, and have, work along with the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa government. It's really, an achievement, and I think it's a really big celebration that
yes,
coming.
it is.
So when did you plan to come to Pakistan, and what kind of thoughts you have been when you are in your own country? What were you thinking about Swat or Pakistan?
Well, I've been actually really wanting to come to Pakistan, but because, like Stefan, I had the impression that it's probably not safe to travel. I didn't come for my dissertation research, so I had to use only photographs and images and read, reports. And but the first time this current journey kind of started to come together was in March last year. There was a one-day symposium dedicated to Gandhara at Harvard University, which I attended, and then kind of the germination of this idea, let's come this winter, a group of scholars and students, and I was very excited to hear that, and I really wanted to join if I could. So it came to happen, so I'm very excited. And after our seminar is finished, I will also go to Lahore, and from Lahore to Karachi as well, because, of course, Lahore has a very important Gandharan art collection in the museum, And then in Karachi, there is also a Gandhara art gallery that I would like to visit.
Okay, that's really great to know. Stephen, how was you have been here from last 2 years, right? You are being visiting Pakistan. So how do you see the richness of the heritage of Pakistan and specifically Khyber Pakhtunkhwa?
Oh, it is really overwhelming. I mean, you can't go anywhere without ancient ruins and stupas that are all taken impressively well care of by the Department of Archaeology and by the Italian mission together. And you see that, especially in Swat, it's a very rich Buddhist heritage that is on the ground. I mean, we've also gone to other places, of course. So on this trip, we have visited Takhti Bai, and Shabaskari and so on. So there are other sites, but Swat is really special as far as I can tell, not being archaeologist, just in the density, in which Buddhism flourished here.
So which is your favorite place?
Oh, this is very hard to say. I mean, this is certainly one of them. Amluk Dara is beautiful. I like sites that have a beautiful natural setting, So this one and Abasab China, of course, is another one that is absolutely scenic and,
Oh, that's really great.
otherworldly, there's a certain romance, attached to visiting these places. Of course, we are scholars and, we are supposed to be dry, but, we're allowed to have our emotions sometimes. And, this is just, romantic, and it transports you back, into how it might have been 2,000 years ago.
So it's really important for an archaeologist that the sites have been preserved properly,
Yes.
And to take care of it. How do you see the work of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa government? And there are different sites that have been preserved till now. So how do you see that? How did you experience that?
Yeah, they're doing wonderful work. They are taking extremely good care under sometimes not very easy circumstances, So equipment is somewhat limited. I understand that they can use here. And still everything is wonderfully well maintained and and being made available to the public. So my understanding is there is always this shared interest in preservation, but also granting access, to both the Pakistani public and the foreign public, which is necessary. This is an integrated program, for the long-term preservation. Of course, you need to create and maintain interest in the public here and worldwide in these sites. So they're doing a wonderful job in this. And I think on this trip in the last 10 days, we've gotten quite a bit of insight, to how everything is organized here and how the different bodies involved, in this preservation work together. And it all seems to be a very, very amicable and friendly and very well-oiled machine, functioning for the preservation of heritage and Swat.
This preservation work has been going for a lot of time, and now these sites are being preserved. How do you see, Lisa, that can you tell us more about this site specifically? That it's being, when I came here, I think 4 or 5 years ago, this site was not that much, explored. The additional site that has been explored recently. So how much did you work here in this area? So you can tell us more about this specifically work that the government has been done here.
Okay, so we are in Amluk Dara. Amluk Dara is one of the largest Buddhist complex that we have, and I'm very glad that now the directorate decided to enlarge the excavation, because this must be like a real monastic settlement. So a very complex one, and there are other structures around, and it is a very important site because it's located along the path that lead to the Lam.
Yes.
Up there.
Yeah.
That, as you know, is the sacred mountain since as far as we know, since early historic time. So since at least we have evidence, textual evidence for this since the end of the 4th century BCE. And so Amluk Dara is very special because it continued to be used till a very late period, also because it was on the way to the sacred mountain that was visited also by Chinese Buddhist pilgrims in the second half of the first millennium CE. So the excavation at Amluk Dara started within the frame of the ACT project. I don't know if you have ever heard of this. So it's a project that started in 2011. So immediately after this crisis that we had in Pakistan, so the full name was Archaeology Community Tourism Field to School Project. It was co-directed by Dr. Abdul Samad, so the director of the directorate, and Luca Mario Olivieri, who is the director of the Italian Archaeological Mission. And Amluk Dara was one of the sites involved in this project. So it was like a site excavated with the aim of doing also training for the local student and the local community. So a small part was exposed at that time, and immediately was clear. I mean, it was clear even before the excavation, because the dome was already, of the stupa was already visible. But it was an important excavation that I think ended in 2014. So before I arrived, so I never excavated in Amluk Dara, I have to say. But it was also a moment when so everyone realized that the archaeological heritage of Swat was in danger, because they found a lot of tunnels and pits excavated by smuggler, and Amluk Dara was also part of this. I mean, archaeology always goes with conservation activities. The two things must go together. So archaeology, conservation, and kind of musealization, or open air musealization. And yes, Amluk Dara was one of these projects, and now more recently the Directorate of Archaeology and Museum have extended the excavation, so you can see a larger area now exposed. The first day exposed this Indushai structure that you see at our back, that it's very interesting. So we are talking about the 8th century CE, so much later than the Buddhist period, but it's very interesting that they constructed a structure very close to the stupa. And now in the until a few weeks back, I think they were excavating here, so they are extending the area in front of the stupa, where there are many other Buddhist structure to be exposed. Then it will be the time for the monasteries. So there is a lot of work to do, and I'm also very glad that this the result of this excavation published very quickly by the department, because knowledge sharing is also a very important part. It's a duty for the archaeologists, not something that should remain
you have to document each and everything that you explored. It's really, it's essential work.
Yes.
It's not like that you have to explore and then you have to leave. You have to document it. It's really a difficult task to do the documentation and all.
Yes,
I talked about it to Luca, so he, very well
explained the process. It's a long one.
It's not like
complex one.
Yeah, definitely.
Was necessary.
So, how was your experience when you come to Swat till now? And I think it's the last day in Swat of you and the whole scholars that have been here from last 1 week almost. So how the government, how do you see the preparation, and how much people were facilitated throughout?
Everybody was very welcoming, very organized very well. The directorate, also Dr. Samad himself, and all the archaeologists, local archaeologists, the curators of the Swat Museum as well. So I've had wonderful conversations at the sites we were visiting. And I'm sorry, I'm a little, got a little chill.
Okay.
I think from climbing barricade, maybe.
I'm sorry. I'm responsible for that.
No, the weather, not you. But this, travel is like that. You can But everybody has been very welcoming, facilitated our stay very well. And I am looking forward to coming back. I think this will not be my last visit, for sure. There is a lot to explore further. And yeah.
So did you mention about the Basira city, the Bricote site? So how did you find that site?
First, personally, Chile. It was our Chilean day. We didn't have a lot.
So
of
you
stuff.
climb up to that mountain, right?
But we climbed up to the mountain. It was a wonderful view. You can see the bed of the Swat River, how enormous it is, and you can also imagine all those travelers, because of course we know this is a part of the Silk Road. And you can imagine the travelers and, their own impressions of their journey that we've read about in, ancient travelogues. So, yes, I was very moved to visit the site.
Okay. So for me, the very exciting site is the Basira city. It might be from a lot of reasons, but recently when I climb up to that mountain, I sat on that temple. The view was spectacular of the whole river. So how do you see the importance of Basira city, Lisa, and how much it was preserved, and how much that site has an importance, and the richness of the heritage of Swat or Khyber Pakhtunkhwa?
So, of course, it's also my favorite site.
Okay.
Mine too. We all agreed.
And Barikot is important for many reasons. And first of all, we have is one of the few sites that is mentioned in text. So it's also one of the few sites for which we know the original name, because it was mentioned in classical sources, so very early period, end of 4th centuries, and then in later inscription. So we know that the city has a very spiritually charged name, because the original name was Vajra. You know how these terms is very important for a different religion, and it continued to be mentioned even in Tibetan texts of the 15th century CE. So you can understand that continue to be important for people for a very long time. So for me, from my point of view, Barikot is important, as I also try to explain to the student here, not because it was like the capital city of Swat, which was Mingora also in the past, but first of all because it's one of the few sites in Northwest South Asia that was investigated through with a scientific method. So we have a large amount of information of Barikot that at a certain point allowed us also to reevaluate also all the previous interpretation of other sites around Swat. So Barikot, so it's important for scholars, for the information that is providing for several periods, proto-history until medieval time. So there we can find all the phases until the Islamic period, from proto-history to Islamic period, and it was important in the past because it's located in a alluvial area. So from the top of the Barikot hill, we can see how wide was the valley, and of course, Swat in the past, one of the main assets of Swat was the agricultural resources, even in the past, because it was a double crop pocket zone. So when you can, you can have harvest twice per year. And Barikot is exactly at it's a strategic point location, it's a strategic location because control, the road. But on the other side, it's also in the middle of this three very fertile valley, and this is is one of them. So it was fortified like very early in the past, because to protect all the resources that the Barikot's inhabitants were holding. So this is one of the reasons why we have such a monumental building in Barikot. You have visited the Hindu temple up there, but it was a very rich and wealthy city, and we know this even if it's small. In the classical sources is always mentioned as polis, so city in Greek, and urbs opulenta, that in Latin means very wealthy city. So Alexander came here for a reason.
How do you see the conservation work that has been going on? Specifically, I just visited when the last time, so there was a shed installed through a kite project, and there's a lot of activities going on through the kite for the preservation and conservation of many sites in Swat. So how do you see that work that has been going on?
I think this is a crucial aspect, as I already mentioned before, and for many years we have been kind of in charge of taking care of the site, and I'm very glad to see how also now the Pakistani authorities are taking over in a very good way this task, and I really appreciate the cover that they have done in the lower part of the city, that is very similar to the one that we have also in Peshawar in Gorkatri. I mean, I'm very attached to that area because I have excavated it. But I can see, so now I started, most recently I started also working in Butkara. And so I can see that since I've been visiting different sites, I can see that these conservation activities are going on in different area. And I mean, this of course, as I was saying, is crucial, because especially during, after the monsoon season, structure can be very, very damaged, and apart from this conservation, another important aspect that for instance, the Directorate of Archaeology Museum of KP is considering is the endangered heritage, because we still have sites that are endangered, that were be neglected in the past, simply because scholars like us were not much, and others were not much interested. And I really like to see how they always look for improvement in also the technique and the methodology used in conservation. So, and these also coverings are not just they combine conservation with musealization and an aesthetic touch. I will say that I appreciate. So I really like the combination of these things that are going on not only in Barikot but in several other areas, Butkara included. The museum also include as an historical building. So
Right. We will talk about the museum. Did you visit recently the Gandhara Stupa and the Rosalagi Stupa in this visit in the last 2 days?
Yeah, we visited Gandhara Stupa.
So how did you find that two places, the two stupas?
I mean, Gandhara is very impressive, very large. This was my first visit actually to Gandhara.
Okay.
It was very nice to see how it is also the center of local life there. The children, play football around it, and it's just this presence for everybody who lives there. It's this easy acceptance, of the Buddhist past, and it defines what home, means for them. So that's very interesting. It's a very special stupa, I'm told, which you can really only see when you have a drone and you take a photo from above, because it has a very large room inside it. So not just a small relic chamber as usual, but there was some larger, a room in it, and we don't know, I suppose, what was inside that.
Well, for sure, it indicates as like very special religious practices were attached to the Gandhara Stupa, because this is very special features that we don't find in I mean, in Swat, I think this is the only one that have this kind of features. And from the textual sources, we know about all these Buddhist festivals that were going on in the past, during which relics of the Buddha were taken out. And of course, you cannot do this in stupa like Amluk Dara because you have to destroy the dome. While in Shingarda there was a specific room for that, so this could be also connected to giving the possibility to open the stupa, collect. It's very interesting site, Shingarda.
Okay.
Yeah. We must pay attention to the.
And so, how do you see the strategic points that these stupas have been built around? Now we have seen the conservation work that's been done through the kite projects, and now already the work is going on the last 4 to 5 sites, and so how do you see the strategic point of building these stupas? If you see this Amluk Dara site and you sit on the side of it and you just compare it with the the Ilam mountain, and then you go through the sunlight and see the whole scenic valley and how it was built. So how do you see that the strategic points of building these stupas on different sites and so on? So how did you experience this? How do you talk about it?
I really like this question because I think it's crucial to contextualize the spatial distribution of this site in the landscape. So according to the distribution of the site, we can also identify the different categories of Buddhist complexes. So we have like Amluk Dara and other sites like mostly Tokardara and Kanderai or Kanjarkote. There are different ways to define that place are really monastic settlements. So very complex area that include also hydraulic infrastructure that were used for dam and convey water to the valley. So they were probably also center of other kind of monastic activities, also like production of, inshallah, one day we will find it out, production of texts that were very complex sites. They are always located at the edge of the fertile land. So this kind of big settlement, monastic settlement, they were controlling the production of the agricultural production. And then we have other sites that are very different.
Okay.
Other are located along very important road, and Amluk Dara combine these two aspects, being a monastic settlement on one side and being on the main way that lead to the sacred mountain, as I mentioned. Other are through mountain passes, so like Amluk, Chinabara, that are in another valley, so they are very far from like the urban life, I will say, because they are located really in a very kind of inaccessible area. You have to walk for Chinabara, I think 2 or 3 hours to reach the place. So we can and mostly this area are combined with the monastic cells. So we can imagine this were also area for meditation, mostly for meditation, also for monks. And then another interesting categories of in the distribution of this Buddhist complex are the so-called village stupa. So Buddhist complexes that are close to rural settlement. And then, of course, we have the monumental building in the cities that are a completely different story.
Okay. So, can you tell me about when you arrived in Pakistan and specifically to Khyber Pakhtunkhwa? So there are many sites that are scattered throughout the province, and there's been, you have seen many signboards that have been installed on the motorways and the roads to navigate the tourists, and from this way you can find the richness of the heritage that is being spread throughout the region of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. So how did you find this experience of being here in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and having this kind of heritage that the world doesn't know about?
Yes, it's been fascinating, and the sign "Welcome to Gandhara" was there, and they have distinctive color. Also, the signs, and so you can see immediately, oh, this is a sign for a landmark.
Different languages, no? We noticed.
Yes,
Yeah.
Chinese,
Chinese,
in
Urdu,
English,
English.
Urdu. Yeah.
So I think the world does not know how rich the history here is. Not many people are aware of this important heritage, Buddhist heritage that Pakistan has. And I think it's important that this is more well known. I'm sure there'll be more visitors if they knew that. And of course, if there were facilities, even making this journey even more easy to arrange. I think there is a great potential for tourism, including religious tourism. But so not only for scholars, for us to come and visit, but the world, I don't think knows much about this important part of Pakistan's history, which I think is a pity.
Yes, definitely. We want to have a norm of not just to archaeologists to visit Pakistan and these archaeological
course.
sites. Who wants the other people that they have also come to Pakistan. We do have a challenge of the climate change and in this region definitely, and there's been sites that have been damaged through these flooding
The
that
flood of
recently
2022, no?
yeah.
Was a big one.
So how do you see, Elisa, that the reason recently the work has been done through rehabilitate that sites too, and how much it's more sites are vulnerable to the climate aspect of it. So how do you see these conservation or preservation work that being going on, or that have been done through Kite project or other project that been going on along with the government of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa? So how much there is a vulnerability to the climate aspect of it, that how much places that are vulnerable to the climate changes that has been happening in this region?
Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, as you said, there are many sites here that are vulnerable to this. And unfortunately, we also have to face the reality that we are not the only actors, so that we cannot change this. So because we are only, a small part of what is going on in the world. But I think what it will be, so the conservation activities were carried out after, some sites were damaged, especially, the flood of 2022 was a disaster. I mean, a lot of people died, villages were washed away, and archaeological sites were damaged, and they were promptly maintained and preserved and restored by the authorities. What I think it will be important is to, since we are talking about Swat as a possible hub for for tourists, is try to foster this idea of sustainable tourism that somehow take into account not only the needs of the visitors, but also the need for the environment and for the local community. This is, I think, is something we can work on. I mean, of course, also with our behavior, we should not contribute to this climate change, but unfortunately there are other actors in the world that will do this for us. So, but I still think we can change some small aspect, and since and I think trying to foster this idea of sustainable tourism, I mean, will be good, because the problem is not just climate change, but it's also the pollution. So people should be aware of not, throw away plastic in the river. I mean, the river can be very polluted, and also the archaeological sites must be clean. There was also this project it's nothing to do with archaeological site, but for the preserving the mountain of Swat. This
Right.
is also like another important asset of this area, apart from the archaeological site, like the green tourism. And but of course, both tourists and guided sometimes don't take really care of how they left the site after their visit.
Okay.
And this is also very important. This is a problem, and we should be aware of this.
All right. Stephen, can you tell me about the museums of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa? That how did you find them, and how much work has been done to to rebuild or develop the museums of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa?
Yeah, of course. So when I visit here, one part, of course, is staying with the Italian mission and participating a little in the excavation and, work with them inside the Sharif. But the other important part for me is to go and visit as many museums as I can and try to document, because I'm an epigraphist, so in my case, document particularly inscriptions that they have, build relationships with our colleagues there, if possible, also gain access to reserve collections, and because the large majority, of the holdings of all these museums are actually not in the exhibition, but they're reserve collections. But for people like us, many of the most exciting pieces are actually there. So I've been going around to many museums. So even on my first visit, I went to Peshawar. So I've been to the Peshawar Museum, Peshawar University Museum, the museum in Lahore I visited also on my very first visit, and I look forward to going back there. The Swat Museum is very special, of course, no? Because everything in the Swat Museum is from a properly documented archaeological excavation. So if you go to these older museums like the Peshawar Museum, many things have been there for a very long time, and they have maybe been passed through several hands of several owners, and it's not exactly clear in each particular case where they were found. And this is really different in the case of the Swat Museum. So it is really a model for how a museum should be done. And it is, it is a wonderful research, institution for us, because we have the context for each individual item. Another museum I'd like to mention is the Deer Museum in Gandhara, which is a site museum, a very modern one with the two sites right next to it. So there you have the unity of the site where the objects are from, and then the museum. You can visit all of them easily, in half a day, and study them as an ensemble, together.
Okay. So did you people visited the Budhgada site, or?
Yes, we did. Yeah. Just the other day.
How much important that site has?
Well, speaking again as an epigraphist, I have a particularly soft spot for Budhgara and for Barikot, because these are the two places in Swat where many inscriptions have been found. And we know that Budhgara, we know from the inscriptions that Budhgara was a very early establishment of Buddhism in Swat, because we have two inscriptions referring to the stupa. There's a Dharmarajika stupa, right? So a stupa established by the Dharma king, which is probably a reference to Ashoka. So this points back to him in the 3rd century, even though the stupa itself seems to be slightly later, but not much. But they were definitely thinking of it, as one of the original places where Buddhism was established in Swat and in Gandhara.
Okay, that's great. Can you tell me, Desi, that when you have visited different places in Swat, so how was your experience, that why these people, like, in the past have chose Swat to come here? So why they choose this place?
That's an interesting question. You mean the Buddhists?
Yes, the Buddhists, the Gandhara, the Alexander, all the people that have come here and they have stayed here, they have developed their civilizations here.
I think one of the reasons perhaps is that this was a fertile place that provided a lot of resources, and also its own main roads that connected the world of that time. They probably felt like this is a good place to establish themselves and live. And because of that, we actually have this special type of Buddhist art that contributed, because this is a melting pot. Gandhara is a melting pot, and because of this special art, it influenced further the transmission of Buddhism to East Asia, for example, I don't know if I have an answer for why they chose it specifically, but there is a connection between, of course, the land of the original Buddhism and then the transmission of Buddhism through here to East Asia, and the rest of the world.
So how do you respond to this question that I asked from the Rishi? So you have much knowledge about it. That why these people choose Swat, specifically the past civilization that is being developed here in Swat?
Well, I have to say that as with the other colleagues of the Italian mission, we put forward an hypothesis for this, as we were mentioning also during our discussion in the previous talk we have during this event. I really think that the first asset of Swat was agriculture, timber, minerals. So it's an originally it started as a sort of agrarian urbanism that then developed because, as you know, it's economic capital can be reinvested in other form of capital, and this, when a land is rich, can attract a different kind of people. So skilled immigrants, like that, produce also probably that influence somehow also the way Buddhist art was produced, bringing new idea but also new tools for producing art. And this at a certain point attracted also the Buddhist community. But before them, of course, we know that so Swat is quite special because it's not exactly, on the way, the main road that connects Afghanistan to India, but it's a bit far away in the mountain. So you have to go, you have to have a good reason to go to Swat somehow. And as I said before, I think Alexander the Great also have a good reason. So here was the area where the surplus of food for the main reason on the plain, so Charsad and Taxila, was produced. So in order to control the main road between Afghanistan to India, you need to control the resources, and then means that you have to conquer Swat. So this is why Swat was so important for the different empires that developed in the area. Everyone had to go to come here. Ashoka did the same. So in Pakistan, as far as we know, from archaeological evidence, then there are also other graphical evidence, but the two Dharmarajika were established, one in Taxila and one in Butkara. They are very far, far away. But, the presence, the idea of putting a stupa here at the Mauryan time was a sort of political statement. Okay. I'm present here because this area is too important. And then, so there is an economical aspect into this that's possibly attract, also in connection with the Mauryan time, the Buddhist community to Swat. And then, of course, here there was... Buddhism flourished in such an amazing way. There is a concentration of site, a density of site that we don't have anywhere else. And this, at a certain point, this was connected also to the role that the monastic community and they had in the urban system of Swat and the relation they have with the urban elite living in the city because they were living far. So I really think everything started with this agrarian, let's say, urbanism. But then slowly, change. Remain the main asset, but of course, as I said, the capital was reinvested in creating social capital, cultural capital, symbolic capital, and so on. And this land, in the end, became the second holy land for Buddhists.
All right. So, Stephen, how do you see the economic potential, or how do you see the tourism potential, and specifically in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Swat? Specifically, if we talk about the heritage richness of it.
Actually, just wanted to add something to what Elisa just said. Right. You said this beautiful thing that it was close to the main road from India to Afghanistan, but just a little bit off in the mountains. I think maybe that is actually key, because the capitals of the large empire, the Kushana Empire and Peshawar and so on, they were down in the plains. And the imperial administration, they had to give equal consideration to all sorts of different religions. We see this in their coins. But here in this slightly distant place, in these mountain valleys where there were these local vassal kingdoms, I think they were much freer to actually put all their support, behind Buddhism and, as you said, make it this special second homeland of Buddhism. And yes, so this second homeland of Buddhism now, of course, we want to show to the world, and we want the world to be able to visit. You asked about how to best do this, yes?
Yes, definitely. The potential of tourism in this area.
Tourism. The potential is, of course, immense for tourism. And we just need to look around at the scenic beauty, the history. There is a lot that can be done to attract larger numbers of tourists. I mean, there's all sorts of infrastructure and, improvements that can be made. For people like us, it was very exciting to drive up this little road, to this village in the buses. But if you want a larger number of tourists, then of course, streets need to be improved. You probably need like little guest houses at the sites here. So the potential is great. It takes a lot of work. But of course, as we discussed earlier, you need to consider what is the right balance? What do you want? I mean, we have many places in the world where we now discuss over-tourism, and of course, we are very familiar with places like Venice,
Yes.
where you live now, and Barcelona and so on. Solutions are being discussed there. We can also look to other countries in Asia, like Bhutan, where they went for lower numbers of tourists, but they charged them a lot, So I think there is a large amount of money you have to pay just to be in the country. And one needs to consider, these different ways that one could develop tourism and find out what is best for Pakistan and what is best for Swat. Many people, of course, would be precisely attracted, because it is a little off the beaten track. It is still relatively peaceful. And this also needs to be preserved. So I don't think the answer is just more and more and more numbers, but the right kinds of tourists, the right balance, of numbers, and always in dialogue with the local communities, so that they are involved, that they're happy with the numbers of tourists that are coming, with the kinds of tourists that are coming. So the fortunate position in which Pakistan and Swat are is that tourism is only now beginning to be really developed, and it can learn from how other places in the world have dealt with the problems that can arise and how to navigate them.
It's really important to consider all the aspects that you have been mentioned, and it's really important the communities around, the locals around, to have the ownership of these sites. But Elisa will agree with me that in the past so many years that these sites have been more developed, more preserved, and now the tourist number is going
increasing.
It's increasing
aggressively.
Every month, every second month we have international delegations, scholars from across the world. They come to Swat, they visit different places. So how do you see this increasing number of tourists and the work that has been done, and have connection to all the world? Specifically, if we talk about the archaeological department, the tourism department that has been working on this aspect.
I mean, of course, I see it in a positive way. As I mentioned also before, the touristic season and the excavation season are more or less the same, spring and autumn. So I can really see when the touristic season, how many people are visiting Swat when I'm doing my excavation. I think especially last season when I was in Butkara, almost every day we have tourists visiting the sites, and it's nice. This Swat has different assets. One is the archaeological one, so there are a lot of scholars that will love to come here, but also like normal visitors or family from abroad visiting the Swat. And then there are the Buddhist community, but also the Muslim community, because we should not forget that in Swat we have the third most ancient mosque of Pakistan, which is in Udagram. And there is very interesting that the ancient mosque, Ghaznavid mosque, was rehabilitated, so can be used for prayer.
Yeah.
And that's a very nice combination of how to use the heritage. And then the other aspect that the authorities are considering here is this kind of green tourism. So people love mountain, people love trekking, people come working in cities in the smog really love Swat because of because of this, because of the mountain, because the fresh air. So and I can see that they are trying to work on this like 3 different lines that are that are important in the way how like religious tourism, green tourism, and archaeological one can be combined. And I think this event somehow is also an experiment in this sense, because now we are here within the frame of this winter school and seminar on Gandhara that is that's invited international students and scholars on Buddhist studies, but also religious practitioner, Buddhist practitioner, to come together and visit Swat. So somehow I think this was also like a sort of experiment that I can say is very successful.
Okay, all right. So tell me, Daisy, what kind of memories you have made in Swat, and what are you taking back to your own country? What kind of experience? What to tell to your friends and colleagues there, that how was Swat, how was Khyber Pakhtunkhwa?
So my experience has been great. I've met many new colleagues, made important connections, could exchange views, could experience the sites that we've only read in books. I'm looking forward to coming back, especially to study some of objects in reserve collections, revisit maybe some of the sites, visit new sites. I will definitely bring very, very fond memories, and I hope to come back again. And I will definitely, recommend to more people to, visit Pakistan, Swat, and the region, because there is a lot of work that we can do still.
Definitely. So the last thing I would like to know from the Stephen, that how much these kind of activities, that delegations, the former missions, the diplomat, the scholars, the archaeologists, and what all the tourists came to Swat specifically for the heritage site exploration, the archaeological site exploration, and how much it has the importance to have a connection across the globe, to have connect to the other world too, and have a really religious harmony can develop throughout the globe. So how do you see these kind of activities that the government has been doing to facilitate these tourists and all?
That is a very broad question. I think the government, as Elisa also mentioned, is very, very skillfully pursuing different approaches to accommodate and to attract and to make happy, and leave with smiling faces different kinds of visitors. And I think this has been very successful. We have kinds of tourism we haven't mentioned yet, like hiking tourism, of course, like whitewater rafting, skiing, and so on. These things also exist and I gather are very popular. I have been able to visit religious, Buddhist, sort of pilgrimage tourists. So we have one Buddhist monastic with us now, who's from Taiwan. I was last year in Pakistan at a conference in Islamabad, followed by a tour to many of the sites we're visiting now too. And there were many delegates from Sri Lanka, for instance, monastics. Okay. And they also left very, very happy. One of them said, my wife told me to be very careful in Pakistan, so we don't know what it is like and so on. But even on the second day, he was just like happy and smiling. And I can see what a very special experience it is for Buddhists from other part of Asia to visit these sites that like we, but in a different way, they know as kind of holy land, as from books, as like sacred lore. And then there in them, and it's a transformative experience, even for seasoned Buddhist, practitioners as well. So so I think the heritage of Pakistan and Swat and is being transmitted and broadcast into the world in a very successful way, and people come here. And I think they leave very happy and they leave very satisfied. And I think by and large, I've only had positive feedback from everybody in this group. So any expectations that they may have had have been both met and actually transcended. And I think many of them do wish to come back, and we've
That's
made
really great.
many happy memories here.
All right. So the last question, Lisa. So how much do you the Italian mission have done a lot of work here, and how do you see in the coming years? What kind of plans do you people have, the archaeologists have in Swat, to go further, to explore, to preserve the more heritage sites? So what are your plannings up to in the coming years?
Yes. So actually this year we start a new 3-year project in collaboration with the Directorate of Archaeology Museum. Perhaps I can mention this is financed with 3 million euro. It will try to combine, I just said, it will try to combine like archaeological heritage with also like the natural tourism. So the idea is to excavate to create a new trail for tourists that will combine like archaeological interest, but also interest in like trekking and nature in Swat. So the plan is to excavate 6 and work on the preservation and musealization together with the Dome on 6 different archaeological sites that will lead the tourists from Islamabad, so from the border between, so from Taxil I meant, so between KP and Punjab to Swat. Somehow this reproduce also the ancient road that was used by the ancient inhabitants of this area. So I'm very excited about this, because this will be for me at least, so for my personal experience, will be the 3rd big project carried out together with the Dome. And as Stefan already mentioned, they were involved also in the organization of this event, and sometimes in other country we have also the feelings that authority deal with with people in a different way. But I really like that the directorate somehow try to reproduce in the authorities those that are the main features of the SWAT area, which are this warm hospitality, safety, because I know that there is a lot of work, because we are, especially when you have big international group, this is also an aspect that they have to consider, and there was a lot of work for this that we cannot notice. No one will notice, but there is at the backstage there is a lot of work on this, and I have seen this kind of organization also during our archaeological project, and I always appreciate this. So I really look forward to work with them again the next 3 years. Then I'll let you know in 3 years what will be the next plan.
Definitely, we will be following your work, and we will be really glad that we have more achievements in the Valley of Swat and our overall Khyber Pakhtunkhwa.
Thank you so much.
Specifically, as you mentioned, for the government, it's also challenging to promote tourism and such, the conditions that the country have been passed through in the past so many years. It's very difficult for the government to, come up with the tourism side of it, to, preserve the heritage sites, and, inviting the tourists from foreign countries. And secondly, they have done preserve many sites in Swat, and they are also working hard into it, but there's more to be done to to have more achievements in this area. Lastly, one thing, how did you find this experience of community podcast? If I ask each of you, how was this experience that we are talking in the open air and the podcast and you're in the open sky?
Okay, so first I have to say that I really don't like interview. So I was very scared when they told me, okay, we are going to do an interview for 1 hour. But in the end, I mean, probably also because of this environment, I feel more, and for you, you are very good.
Thank you. Thank you.
I felt like quite comfortable, and in the end it's nice to discuss about this topic also with with the people that have the task to to spread
Right. How did you
Spread
find it,
this.
Stephen?
Yeah, it's a great idea. Just as you said, the viewer should be able to see what we are talking about as we are talking about it.
Yeah.
And I mean, today is a particularly beautiful, sunny, balmy day, so it was actually much
the light
more.
is constantly changing. It's very difficult for our cameramen to make that, your faces to be
There's been a
lit.
little bit of distraction in the background, as our 30
Yeah.
participants are
Yeah.
all over the place exploring,
Yeah.
was
in a
watching
way
a
illustrating
little
what we are
boy
talking about live.
running with his goat over there. It was
he got
very
distracted.
adorable.
So do you like this experience of podcast and the open sky?
Open air, nice scenery, nice conversation. I think it's
It's the
wonderful.
best combination, probably.
I wish I was less stuffy.
Thank you so much, Desi. Thank you so much, Stephen. Thank you
You're
so much,
welcome. Thank you.
Elisa, for your time, for sharing your thoughts with us. And it's really a kind of very good experience for me too, to you have, understand the things from your all perspectives and see that how the thing has been changing in this country and hopefully around the globe too. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you.